Good morning, boys. Today, we going through a very interesting story. Imagine showing up to vote for your next mayor, and the only serious candidate is a cat? Yes, an actual whiskered, four-legged feline, purring machine, destroyer of houseplants, living room ninja, and expert in knocking things off tables. For one small town, this was real life. And before you roll your eyes, let me just say, this mayor had more charisma than half of the politicians you have ever seen on TV. Wait. But how does a town end up choosing a cat as its leader? Before you assume everyone there lost their minds, or collectively inhaled catnip, relax. It wasn't some sprawling metropolis with white campaigns, celebrity endorsements, and candidate tweeting insults at each other like Elon Musk and Trump. Nope. This was one of those tiny towns where everybody knows your business, political debates happen casually at the diner over a coffee, and the biggest scandal might be someone's dog sneaking into the bakery and stealing a muffin. High crime, right? The town is so small, where rush hour is two cars meeting at the town's only intersection. Chill doesn't begin to describe it. That's the vibe there. So why out of every town in existence did this sleepy little place end up electing Garfield's cousin? Well, sometimes all it takes a bored community, an empty ballot, and one person with a silly idea. And the next thing you know, there is a feline running a fucking city hall. So how did it actually happen? Who was this famous cat? Oh, and of course, what did the townspeople think when the cat was elected? This town is exactly what you would expect from a spot so small you could blink and miss it. One street, one general store, one diner serving pancakes fluffier than your pillow, and a post office that's probably someone's house on weekends. But don't mistake small for boring. The town had personality, charm, and an intense competitive spirit, mainly over whose long gnomes were most likely to win a beauty contest. These people took garden decorations seriously. Here, traditions are everything, but so is a good laugh. And that's probably why, when the idea of nominating a literal cat popped up, folks didn't shrug it off. They doubled down, laughed their asses off, and said, you know what? Why the fucking hell not? Because let's face it, when you live somewhere this chill, you need the occasional bizarre stories to spice things up, to not die of boredom, I guess. Something that will keep the coffee shop banter fresh and make visitors think, you have totally lost your mind. Yes, I am, and what, can't we have just a little fun? But seriously, how did the cat end up on the ballot? Well, this is where things get juicy. Did someone ink up a paw and stamp a ballot? Or did the cat file campaign paperwork? The truth is even better, and far more ridiculous. It turned out no human actually wanted the mayor's job. Maybe it was too much paperwork, or people just couldn't be bothered. Either way, election day rolled around with a bunch of empty slots and zero enthusiastic contenders. Enter a prankster, or genius, depending on how much you like cats, who scribbled down the name of his cat, just for fun. And after all, what's the worst that could happen, right? The cat in question was Stubbs, a local legend already known for his laid-back lifestyle, napping at the store, sunbathing in prime sidewalk spots, and collecting head scratches from every passerby. Soon enough, word spread around town quicker than Stubbs could nap. Did you hear? Stubbs is running. Stubbs is running! Maybe it was because the alternative was literally nobody. Or perhaps they genuinely thought a fine mayor would at least keep things chill. Whatever the reason, boredom and small town humor turned a joke into something real. Come election day, no one knew if it was still a joke or if they secretly genuinely wanted Stubbs to win. Usually elections in this town were about as exciting as watching paint dry, except quicker. Most folks didn't even bother changing out of pajamas to vote. But this year there was a buzz. Okay, not like a real political buzz, more like an are we really about to elect a cat buzz. As ballots were counted, folks figured the joke would fade. Maybe someone sensible would win at the last minute. But no. When the results came out, Stubbs didn't just win, he absolutely dominated. Humans never fucking stood a chance. Stubbs beat them like he beats up houseplants, mercilessly. And you can imagine the reactions. Half of the town couldn't stop laughing, some were slightly mortified, and the rest shrugged thinking, well, at least it wasn't my dog. Headlines ran wide, reporters called non-stop. It was something like, Stubbs, did you fucking win? And Stubbs was like, meow. And the reporter said, fuck, I don't speak cat. He said, okay, Stubbs, look at me. Or listen. 1 meow yes, 2 meow no. Get it? So Stubbs, did you win or no? And Stubbs said, meow. Anyways, overnight this cat went from napping in the sun to ruling City Hall, becoming easily the most famous political figure this town. Move over, politicians. There is a new boss in town, and he wants treats and belly rubs. Stubbs was mayor, democracy had officially gone feline, and everyone involved realized they had created the funniest, most unforgettable chapter in the town's history. So what exactly does a cat mayor do, you might ask? Well, Stubbs definitely rewrote the entire job description. Forget council meetings, signing paperwork or cutting ribbons. His daily priorities: naps, snacks, and leisurely strolls down Main Street. Sounds like an ideal job, honestly. Stubbs wasn't exactly shaping policy or making fiery speeches, because you know, he was literally a cat. But he did have a prestigious office at the general store, and residents regularly drove by for a casual head scratch or to discuss serious issues. But what were these serious issues? Like string chasing? But here is the widest part. People actually loved it. Tourists traveled specifically to meet the feline mayor, locals showered him with treats, and store owners wore business picked up just because of Stubbs' charm. One diner even created a special drink named after him, the Mayor Stubbs. Media fucking exploded, you know. Stubbs went international, appearing in newspapers, TV shows, and websites worldwide. And honestly, he handled fame better than most celebrities or politicians ever could. Cool, calm, and happy as long as snacks and belly wraps kept coming. Stubbs continued his reign for years, becoming famous for spreading good vibes, boosting local morale, and absolutely smashing the record for most official naps taken in office. But how did the townspeople react to their feline overlord? Initially it was the hot topic. Some laughed until they cried, meanwhile others panicked about the town's reputation. Soon enough, though, everyone embraced the absurdity. Stubbs became more than a quirky joke. He unified the community like no human mayor ever could. And also, locals often joke that Stubbs had done more for tourism than any conventional politician. And yes, this was true. He literally put the place on the map. Some loved the fame, others just shrugged it off saying, that's just Stubbs being Stubbs. But one thing was undeniable. For a time, this little town had everyone smiling and the entire world sharing in their playful secret. But what happened after Stubbs took office and everyone's heart? Unlike typical politicians, Stubbs never faced re-election worries. He remained mayor for nearly 2 decades, or 20 years. In case if you don't know how many 2 decades is. Oh, without uttering a single word. Throughout his career, Stubbs grew from quirky novelty to legendary status, inspiring countless newspaper articles, souvenirs and t-shirts. Even other animals, dogs, chickens, and one notably ambitious goat, tried to challenge his position, but none matched Stubbs' effortless charisma. Even in retirement, Stubbs remained beloved. People still visited, offered treats, and shared their "I once met the cat mayor" stories. When Stubbs eventually passed away, the entire town genuinely mourned. It felt like losing a piece of their shared history. But Stubbs' legacy lasted far beyond his 9 lives. His quirky tale still attracts tourists, entertains visitors, and inspires local kids dreaming of becoming the next furry politician. And this video was also inspired by him. He just did what any cat would do, lived in the moment, basked in attention, and brightened everyone's day. And by the way, sometimes that's exactly the leader you need.